All right, 2-2 Warriors, and that was pretty intense there late, man. Let's start with Steph. Then we'll get to the Warriors' defense, which was amazing in that fourth quarter. So, the easy thing to say, of course, is Steph Curry made shots. I mean, Horford specifically was a little higher up on him, mostly on ball screens. I do want to talk about some of the off ball stuff, but on the ball, he was a little higher. I thought Time Lord was a little higher. Although, if I go through all of Steph's threes, I guarantee there's at least one where they weren't up high enough. But man, even on the ones that they did a good job in getting real high, he just made a few of them anyway. That three he had over Derek White was good defense from Derek White. This is just Steph Curry we're talking about. But the other thing that happened was there were times where Time Lord and Horford were playing lower on like Looney or whatever, and then the Warriors would get into their split actions or they'd run a down screen for Clay or whoever, which is not a new concept. I feel like I bring this up every time I talk about the Warriors, but it felt like there was a stretch of this game where they just really, really leaned into that, and the amount of threes that those guys had, or maybe they're taking it off the dribble and then somebody else is getting an open shot or whatever, just off of those quick decisions of, oh, you're playing off of Looney, oh, you're playing off of Draymond, even if there were also times when ignoring Draymond was pretty effective for the Celtics. There was also that one where GP was in the corner, they were ignoring him, Steph kept moving, and then suddenly, now there's only one guy over there and Steph's coming around a GP screen. I do think that did a lot for them, on top of like Wiggins being a force on the boards. Gary Payton II, I remember he had one play where he set like this really awesome screen that led to an easy one, kind of in transition off of a Jordan Poole bringing it up. Speaking of Jordan Poole, I thought he also benefited a little bit from like Time Lord not playing as high up on him. Like you could tell that the Celtics, specifically for Clay and Poole, were like still not all the way into the play super duper high like they made that adjustment for Steph in this game. So he was able to benefit off of at least a couple of makes, including one time where he got Time Lord on a switch and just made like a pull-up two on him. The trap we saw, like, which was basically the play that put it away. I mean, we've seen that a million times with the Warriors. You trap Steph, Draymond middle of the floor, little dump off pass to Looney. And speaking of Looney, there was a chance he wasn't going to play a lot because, of course, it started with Otto Porter. But, the Celtics, they killed him on the boards early on. And then Looney was out there. And, man, the amount of physical rebounds that Looney grabbed in this one, I don't know how many it was, but it seemed like a whole lot. Speaking of Looney as well, I guess this can segue into the Warriors' defense in that fourth quarter. There was one possession where he switched onto Tatum, and it was really effective, where Tatum just had to take this long two-pointer that wasn't very good. I think he airballed it, actually. There was also a stretch where Tatum and Jalen tried to go at Bielitsa or whenever he was in the game, and it felt like they never got the best of him. Maybe they did once or so, but he's a big dude. He's like 6'9", 230, 240 or whatever. Like, he's just a lot of size to have to get around, right? And the disappointing thing with that is that Jordan Poole was in the game for a lot of those minutes. I felt like that would have been the guy to go at, The other thing about that fourth quarter defense, Clay had a number of possessions where his job was to stay glued to Jalen, and he pretty much did it. Like Jalen was trying to get the Steph switch a bit in that fourth quarter, and whether it's Clay fighting around the action or, there was that turnover from Jalen where he got stripped in the corner, where before that he tried cutting to the rim. Clay was just glued to him the entire time on that. Those are just the couple of plays that I can remember, but I do recall saying to myself a few times, oh, they're not giving them the switch they want or whatever in the fourth. And it felt like there was a stretch there where the Celtics were only getting threes because the driving lane, they just didn't feel comfortable with it, which actually reminded me a bit of Game 2. Now, I will have to go back and look at those fourth quarter possessions to see, did they settle a little bit, or was the cross-court pass there, or what? There was that one play where Jalen just kind of went right at Draymond in the fourth, and he got that turnaround over him. But besides that one, it just felt like the Warriors just were like, you're not getting any driving lanes, whether that's simply playing better on the ball or adjusting the timing of the help to where it freaked out the Celtics a bit. I don't know exactly what it was. I have to go back and look at it. And again, I kudos to Looney for that one play where he switched on the Tatum and just basically shut him down. There were also times in this where I felt like there'd be plays where, like, let's say Rob is in the dunker spot, and then his guy will go to contest a drive, and then the dude who's guarding the guy, like, in the corner will then go and get tangled up with Rob so he's not just open for a lob or a rebound or whatever. Like, this is basic stuff, but for whatever reason, it just felt more effective in this game for the Warriors. At least for some parts. I think sometimes you can get beat by that sort of thing, which leads to Rob getting an offensive rebound or whatever, and yeah, that happened a bit of times in this, but also, again, more Looney minutes, you don't get killed on the boards as much. I don't think that's a coincidence. 17 in the last one, 28 in this one, and, well, here we are, man, 2-2 series. I think the focus or biggest question or whatever has got to be back on the Celtics offense now. We've seen so many different variations in terms of quality. We've seen the last game where they're just attacking relentlessly and the Warriors are like, wait a minute, what's happening? We keep getting their shoulders put into us and, well, our help is there, but they're playing faster than the help can actually get there. And then in the fourth quarter of this one, it was more of what we've seen at various parts of the season, whether it's switching, whether it's matching the physicality of the Celtics, and suddenly it's like, well, there's 6 seconds on the shot clock and not a whole lot's going on here. So what the hell happens for the next game? I don't know, dude. The other thing, too, is the Celtics are going to have to figure out the perfect amount of sagging off of Looney and Gary Payton and Draymond. Because, I mean, look, there was that play late third, I believe, when Steph just kept relocating because they were ignoring GP in the corner, and suddenly, oh crap, that's a handoff to Steph,